The news spread across the galaxy like a shooting star, bright and impossible to ignore. The kingdom of Valyria, a planet known for its shining cities and incredible technologies, had announced a grand tournament. It was unlike any competition the universe had ever seen. The prize was extraordinary, the hand of Princess Leora, the young and clever heir to the throne. Every species from neighboring star systems was invited to compete, from tall telepathic beings to small, fast-moving creatures with sharp claws, and even to robotic warriors with artificial intelligence that surpassed human understanding. Among the countless beings who heard the announcement, Kale, a human from Earth, felt a spark of both excitement and fear. Unlike the alien competitors, he had no special enhancements, no genetic modifications, and no advanced weapons beyond what he had trained with himself. He was entirely human. His strength, speed, and reflexes were ordinary compared to the enhanced species. Yet there was something in Kale that set him apart. Determination. He believed in the power of courage, quick thinking, and the ability to learn from mistakes. And he knew that might be enough to succeed, even in a galaxy filled with beings far stronger and faster than him. Kyle arrived on Valyria in a small, rented shuttle, watching the planet grow larger as he descended. It was breathtaking. Cities floated in the sky, connected by glowing bridges and pulsing lights, while the ground below was alive with forests and rivers that shimmered under twin suns. He could see alien ships arriving from distant worlds, each carrying a competitor whose appearance alone could inspire fear. Towering reptilian warriors with scales glinting like metal stepped down from their ships, while sleek, winged creatures hovered gracefully, scanning the crowd. Robots with chrome exteriors glinted in the sunlight, their movements precise and calculated. Kale stepped onto the landing platform with a deep breath. He felt small among them, and perhaps he was, but he refused to let fear dictate his actions. He had trained for this moment for years, practicing with makeshift weapons, studying combat strategies from history and simulations, and preparing his mind for anything the tournament might throw at him. While the others relied on their innate abilities, Kale relied on preparation, observation, and an unshakable belief in himself. The opening ceremony was magnificent. Princess Leora appeared on a floating platform in the center of the arena, her silver robes flowing and her hair catching the light. She waved to the crowd, smiling with intelligence and grace that instantly drew the eyes of everyone present. Kale noticed that her gaze lingered briefly on him. Perhaps it was curiosity. Perhaps it was a recognition of the determination that burned within him. The first trial of the tournament was simple in appearance, but challenging in execution. Competitors had to navigate an obstacle course filled with moving platforms, energy barriers, and traps designed to test agility, balance, and timing. Many aliens moved effortlessly, using wings, claws, or enhanced speed to glide through the course. Kale, however, had no such advantages. He focused carefully, timing each step using his hands and feet in unison and observing the motions of the obstacles. Where others tried to force their way through, Kale waited, calculated, and then acted. He fell a few times, hitting the soft safety pads below, but each mistake taught him something new. By the end of the course, Kale was not the fastest, but he was among the few who completed it without serious penalties. Whispers spread among the alien competitors. "The human, he is clever," they said, their voices tinged with both surprise and disbelief. Some laughed at him at first, expecting a quick failure, but Kale's calm focus and careful observations had earned him respect. Even if begrudgingly, the next trial tested intelligence and strategy rather than physical ability. Competitors faced a complex puzzle, a holographic maze that changed its configuration in real time. Many relied on telepathy or advanced computation to solve it. Kale had neither. He studied the maze carefully, noting patterns and using logic to anticipate the changes. While the others struggled to keep up with the shifting paths, Kale found the solution through patience, trial and error, and careful reasoning. Princess Leora watched from above, her interest growing. She had seen countless competitors enter the tournament, most of them relying on obvious strength or speed. But this human, small, ordinary, yet undeterred, used his mind in ways that fascinated her. When Kale completed the puzzle, she smiled, acknowledging his skill. For Kale, the smile was a quiet affirmation. It gave him hope, not for glory, but for the opportunity to prove that humanity had a place even among the most advanced beings of the galaxy. The following days brought new challenges, each more dangerous and demanding than the last. Competitors faced combat exercises designed to test reflexes, coordination, and adaptability. Some fights were one-on-one duels, while others involved multiple participants in a chaotic arena filled with hazards. Kyle approached every encounter with careful study. He observed his opponent's movements, learned their patterns, and adapted his tactics to exploit weaknesses. Where a telepath might predict an attack, Kyle countered unpredictably, using clever feints and improvisation. Where a robotic fighter relied on precision, Kyle introduced chaos, moving in ways the machine could not anticipate. He did not win every round, and he did not claim victory with ease. But every small success, every narrow escape, built his reputation. The unpredictable human. Some competitors began to call him quietly. Even the fiercest warriors started to watch him with a mixture of curiosity and respect. Kyle's human traits, persistence, ingenuity, and courage, became his greatest weapons. He learned to use the environment around him, turning obstacles into advantages. He improvised tools from whatever was at hand, finding creative solutions that the more powerful competitors would never consider. For the first time, many aliens realized that strength alone did not determine the outcome of a challenge. The human spirit, the ability to endure, to think, and to adapt, was a force in itself. Despite the growing admiration, Kyle faced constant doubt from those who underestimated him. Judges and spectators alike assumed he would be eliminated soon. But Kyle did not focus on proving them wrong. He focused on surviving each trial, improving with every step and learning from every mistake. His determination became a quiet, steady flame that no challenge could extinguish. One evening, as Kyle rested beneath the glowing trees of Valeria's royal gardens, he thought about what had brought him here. Earth was far behind him, a small blue planet in a galaxy filled with wonders he had never imagined. Yet he carried with him the lessons of his home, resilience, courage, and the belief that ordinary beings could achieve extraordinary things. He did not yet know if he would win the tournament, but he understood that every trial, every battle, was an opportunity to show the universe what humanity could do. By the end of the first part of the tournament, Kyle had earned a place among the top competitors. He had faced stronger, faster, and more advanced beings and survived. He had captured the attention of the princess, the judges, and even his fellow competitors. While some still doubted the power of a human, Kyle had quietly shown that ingenuity, courage, and determination could rival any enhancement, any genetic modification, or any machine. As the sun set over the floating cities of Valeria, Kyle looked toward the future. He knew that the challenges ahead would be even greater, that the next rounds would test every skill he had, and that the greatest opponents were yet to come. But he was ready. He would fight not just to win a prize, but to prove that humanity, no matter how small or ordinary, could stand among the stars. And somewhere in the royal gallery above, Princess Leora watched the human warrior. She saw something in him that went beyond skill or bravery. She saw resilience, heart, and a spark of determination that no machine or alien enhancement could replicate. The tournament was just beginning, but already Kyle had made a mark on the kingdom of Valeria, a mark that would not be forgotten. The morning after Kyle's surprising success in the initial rounds, the atmosphere in the grand arena of Valeria had changed. Whispers followed him wherever he went. Competitors who had once laughed at the small, ordinary human now studied him with cautious curiosity. "The human is clever," muttered one of the telepathic beings, their many eyes narrowing. Even some robotic warriors paused in their routines to observe him, as if calculating the probabilities of his next move. Kyle, however, did not notice much of the chatter. He woke before sunrise, stretching his muscles and checking the few weapons and tools he had brought. The next trials were unknown, and he knew he could not rely solely on what had worked before. Adaptability had kept him alive, and it would continue to do so. He walked through the gardens of the royal city, taking in the soft light of twin suns and the gentle hum of the wind machines. There was beauty here, but Kyle's mind was focused, constantly scanning for opportunities to learn, anticipate, and outmaneuver. The second stage of the tournament was announced shortly after breakfast. This round would test intelligence, strategy, and teamwork, combining elements that even the most physically powerful competitors might find challenging. A large arena had been constructed, filled with shifting platforms, energy fields, and holographic obstacles that moved unpredictably. The competitors would have to navigate it while working in pairs, though the partners were assigned randomly. Kale was paired with a small insect-like alien named Slythe, known for quick reflexes but also for being unpredictable and sometimes selfish. At first, Kale and Slythe struggled to cooperate. The alien darted ahead recklessly, triggering traps that knocked Kale off balance, and Kale's careful methods seemed slow and cautious to Slythe. But Kale quickly learned how to communicate through gestures and simple commands, using his calm demeanor to guide Slythe without anger or frustration. Slowly, they began to move as a team. Kale's observations of the arena, combined with Slythe's speed, allowed them to bypass several traps that had eliminated stronger competitors. During the course of the trial, Kale realized that many aliens underestimated the importance of strategy and timing. They relied on innate abilities or enhancements, assuming raw power would carry them through. Kale, however, calculated angles, waited for the right moments, and improvised when unexpected obstacles appeared. A teleporting creature tried to ambush them, but Kale anticipated its pattern and redirected it into a trap. The audience gasped at the cleverness of the move, and even Slythe seemed impressed, nodding quickly in recognition of Kale's skill. The final part of this round was a puzzle challenge layered on top of the physical obstacles. Floating panels displayed symbols that changed in sequence, and competitors had to activate the correct series to open the exit. Many beings panicked, relying on instinct or telepathy to guess the right sequence. Kale, however, methodically observed the patterns, noting small repetitions and irregularities. He spoke quietly to Slythe, pointing out sequences and timing their movements to avoid activating traps. Slowly, steadily, they solved the puzzle. When the exit opened, Kale and Slythe emerged to a mix of astonishment and applause. The human had done it again. Some competitors shook their heads in disbelief. How could a being so ordinary, so seemingly weak, keep surviving and excelling in challenges designed to eliminate the best and strongest? Even Princess Leora leaned forward in her seat, curiosity shining in her eyes. Kale's ingenuity, resilience, and calm courage were becoming the talk of the galaxy. The days that followed brought new trials, each one more complex and dangerous than the last. One challenge involved navigating a field filled with levitating rocks, laser grids, and holographic illusions of predators. Competitors had to collect energy orbs and reach the center of the field without triggering any traps. Kale had no special sensors or wings, so he relied on acute observation, careful timing, and using shadows and obstacles to his advantage. He fell several times, his muscles aching and bruised, but each mistake taught him something new about the environment and his opponents. Another trial tested endurance and agility in extreme conditions. Competitors were dropped into a simulated volcanic landscape, complete with shifting lava streams, collapsing platforms, and geysers of hot steam. Aliens with reinforced bodies and heat resistance moved easily, but Kale's strategy focused on precision, timing, and using his environment. He leapt across platforms with calculated movements, avoiding the hot bursts and adjusting constantly as the arena changed. His ordinary human body, though vulnerable, proved resilient because he never panicked and kept his mind sharp under pressure. Between trials, Kale trained quietly. He observed the other competitors' habits, noting strengths, weaknesses, and predictable patterns. Some of the more arrogant aliens began to recognize that underestimating him was dangerous. He did not brag or boast. He simply acted, letting his results speak for themselves. The more the other competitors learned about Kale, the more cautious they became. The predictable advantage of enhancements, powers, and artificial intelligence seemed to diminish when faced with a human who could think, adapt, and endure relentlessly. One evening, Kale found himself alone in the royal training grounds, practicing with a simple staff he had fashioned from local materials. A few alien spectators lingered at a distance, whispering about his unusual techniques. Kale moved fluidly, imagining battles and traps in his mind, rehearsing strategies for situations he might face in the upcoming rounds. Every motion was deliberate. Every strike, dodge, and pivot served a purpose. Though small and unenhanced, Kale's skill and determination were growing to rival even the most formidable competitors. The next trial was announced with an air of intensity. This round combined combat and strategy, forcing competitors to face opponents in duels while navigating a maze filled with hazards. Kale's first opponent was a towering armored alien who had won all previous duels effortlessly. The crowd expected a quick defeat. Kale, however, approached the challenge differently. He did not rush. He studied his opponent's movements, noting how the alien's heavy armor slowed its turns, and how it reacted predictably to certain feints. When the duel began, Kyle dodged and weaved with a precision that surprised everyone. The alien struck with powerful blows, but Kale used his small size and agility to slip past, countering only when he saw openings. At one point, he lured the alien into a corner near a laser trap. With a quick, well-timed maneuver, the alien triggered the trap, which temporarily immobilized it. Kale took advantage of the moment, scoring the winning point in a duel that many expected him to lose instantly. The crowd erupted, cheering for the human who had once seemed so weak. Kale's success was not just about skill. It was about intelligence, courage, and the ability to see opportunities that others missed. Even some of the judges who had doubted a human could compete at this level nodded in respect. The whispers spread further. "Perhaps humans are not so weak after all," said one telepathic competitor quietly. Kale's victories, however, were not only about survival or praise. They were teaching a larger lesson. In a universe where power, enhancements, and abilities often defined worth, Kale's resilience and ingenuity showed that determination, intelligence, and human creativity could rival any natural or artificial advantage. He became a symbol, not only of hope for humans in distant worlds, but also of what perseverance and adaptability could achieve. During a quiet moment between trials, Princess Leora approached Kale. She did not come with grandeur or ceremony. She walked with simple curiosity. "I have been watching you," she said softly. "You are unlike anyone I have seen. You do not rely on enhancements or tricks. You rely on yourself, and it is remarkable." Kale bowed politely. "Thank you, Your Highness. I do not seek to impress. I only hope to do my best and prove that humans can stand on their own." The princess smiled. "You already are. Whatever happens in this tournament, you have already shown something important. Strength is not always about what you are given. Sometimes it is about what you can become." Kale felt a quiet pride. Her words were not a promise of victory, but they were a recognition of his spirit, something that could not be measured by power, size, or enhancements. It was a reminder that the heart, courage, and intelligence of a human could achieve extraordinary things, even among the most advanced beings in the galaxy. The sun set behind the floating cities, casting long shadows across the arena. Kale stood alone for a moment, looking at the stars beginning to sparkle in the sky. Each challenge had tested him. Each opponent had pushed him to his limits, and each small success had strengthened his confidence. The tournament was far from over, and the trials ahead would be even more dangerous. Yet Kale felt ready. He had discovered the power of patience, strategy, and ingenuity, and he understood that these qualities could carry him further than brute strength ever could. The galaxy was watching. Competitors were wary, and the princess had noticed. Kale, the ordinary human, had become an extraordinary force. He was no longer just a participant. He was a contender, a symbol of the resilience, creativity, and unyielding spirit that humans could bring to the universe. And as the stars twinkled above, Kale knew that whatever the next trials held, he would face them with the courage and determination that had brought. The next trial of the tournament was announced with an air of anticipation that seemed to ripple through every corner of the galaxy. The arena had been transformed into a vast, multi-level battlefield, filled with moving platforms, deep chasms, and energy fields that pulsed unpredictably. The remaining competitors gathered, each of them aware that the challenges ahead would push them to their limits. Kale stood quietly at the edge of the field, his eyes scanning the layout, calculating possible strategies. He had survived the first rounds through careful observation and ingenuity, but this trial was different. It demanded more than skill and intelligence. It demanded endurance, courage, and the ability to adapt in the heat of battle. His first opponent was immediately revealed, a towering, armored alien named Gorath, whose reputation for unbeatable strength was legendary across multiple star systems. Gorath's skin was metallic, glinting in the arena lights, and his movements, though slow, were precise and powerful. Kale felt a flicker of apprehension, but he quickly pushed it aside. He had faced stronger beings before, and he had learned that speed and power alone did not guarantee victory. With patience, observation, and clever tactics, a human could turn any disadvantage into an opportunity. The duel began. Gorath lunged forward with a heavy punch, the force of which could have crushed ordinary beings in a single blow. Cale dodged, rolling across the shifting platform, feeling the vibrations from the impact beneath him. He noticed something. The way Gorath planted his feet before striking made it difficult for him to pivot quickly. That small detail, easily overlooked, gave Cale a chance. Using his agility and quick reflexes, he darted around the alien, striking weak points in the armor whenever he could. His blows were not strong enough to hurt seriously, but they disrupted Gorath's rhythm, forcing the larger alien to overextend and expose vulnerabilities. Meanwhile, the other competitors tried similar strategies, relying on power or enhancements, but Gorath's strength often overwhelmed them. Cale, however, remained calm. He moved with purpose, calculating, improvising, and using the shifting platforms to his advantage. At one point, he lured Gorath near a pulsing energy field, forcing the alien to retreat and lose precious seconds. The crowd erupted in excitement, their cheers a mixture of astonishment and admiration. The human, the small, ordinary human, was surviving against an opponent who seemed invincible. After a grueling exchange, Cale saw his opportunity. Gorath swung with all his might, leaving a gap in his armor near the shoulder joint. Cale rolled under the attack, leapt onto a higher platform, and with a well-timed strike of his staff triggered a small trap built into the arena. The trap emitted a net of energy that entangled Gorath briefly, leaving him vulnerable. Cale acted quickly, disarming the alien and scoring the decisive point. The crowd's roar echoed across the arena. Even the judges seemed impressed, and some of the competitors could only shake their heads in disbelief. Cale did not pause to celebrate. The trial was far from over. The remaining competitors had to navigate a labyrinth of hazards while facing multiple opponents in rapid succession. Cale knew that relying solely on luck or improvisation would not suffice. He needed strategy, endurance, and careful observation. He moved swiftly through the maze, noting energy pulses, unstable platforms, and hidden traps. His human instincts, honed through years of practice and experience, guided him as he anticipated dangers before they appeared. At one point, Cale found himself cornered by a pair of fast-moving alien warriors, each equipped with bladed weapons that could slice through most materials. Many competitors would have panicked, but Cale had learned to stay calm under pressure. He observed their movements, noticing a subtle delay between attacks when they changed direction. Timing his dodge perfectly, he avoided the first strike, then the second, and used their momentum against them. With a clever sweep of his staff and a well-placed jump, he sent one opponent tumbling into a trap and the other stumbling, creating a narrow window to escape. By the time Cale reached the final section of the arena, he was exhausted, his muscles aching and his breath coming in sharp bursts, yet his mind was clear, focused on the task at hand. The final challenge was a test of both mental and physical skill, a complex puzzle combined with combat. Floating panels displayed sequences of symbols that had to be activated in the correct order, while holographic illusions of predators attacked anyone who hesitated. Many competitors froze, overwhelmed by the simultaneous demands. Cale, however, approached the puzzle with calm precision. He studied the patterns, noticed the repetitions, and acted decisively, solving each sequence while dodging attacks with skill honed through countless hours of practice. When he finally reached the center of the arena, Cale stood victorious once again. The crowd erupted, their cheers louder than ever. The alien competitors looked on with astonishment, unable to understand how an ordinary human could succeed against beings who were stronger, faster, and more enhanced than he was. Cale's victories were not just about skill. They were about perseverance, intelligence, and the refusal to give up no matter the odds. Princess Leora watched from her elevated platform, her eyes shining with interest and admiration. She had seen countless competitors enter the tournament, most of them relying on raw power or abilities that were meant to intimidate. But Cale's approach was different. He relied on ingenuity, courage, and the ability to adapt in ways that no enhancement or genetic modification could replicate. She felt a growing respect for him, recognizing that he embodied qualities she valued most: intelligence, heart, and unyielding determination. That evening, Cale rested in a quiet corner of the royal gardens. He cleaned his staff, tended to minor scrapes and bruises, and reflected on the day's events. Each trial had pushed him to his limits. Each opponent had forced him to think, adapt, and act decisively. He realized that his human traits, patience, ingenuity, and resilience were his greatest strengths. In a universe where power often defined worth, Kale's victories were proof that determination and intelligence could rival any enhancement or natural advantage. As night fell over the floating cities of Valyria, Kale thought about the challenges that still lay ahead. The next rounds would be even more dangerous, testing him in ways he could not yet imagine. But he felt ready. He had survived impossible situations, outsmarted stronger opponents, and proven to himself that humans could endure and succeed against the most formidable adversaries. Even among the aliens, Kyle's reputation was growing. Some competitors began to approach him with cautious respect rather than disdain. They studied his methods, curious about how he could succeed where so many others failed. Whispers spread throughout the arena. "The human, he is not ordinary," said one telepathic being quietly. "He thinks differently. He adapts. He does not give up." Kyle's victories also inspired the spectators. Humans from distant worlds who had once been dismissed as weak or ordinary saw in Kale a symbol of hope. He showed them that courage, intelligence, and perseverance could overcome even the most daunting challenges. His story was spreading, not just in Valyria but across star systems, becoming a legend in the making. Yet Kale remained humble. He did not fight for fame or recognition. He fought to prove that humans, no matter how small or ordinary, could stand among the stars. Every step he took, every opponent he faced, was an opportunity to learn, to grow, and to show the universe what determination could achieve. As the twin suns of Valyria set, casting long shadows across the arena, Kale looked toward the next trials with determination in his eyes. He knew that the final rounds would be even more difficult, that the most formidable opponents were yet to come. But he also knew that he had already proven something extraordinary, that human ingenuity, courage, and resilience were forces to be reckoned with, even in a galaxy filled with beings far more powerful than himself. And somewhere above, in the royal gallery, Princess Leora watched the human warrior. She saw not just skill or bravery, but something deeper, a spark of determination and heart that no enhancement, weapon, or strength could replicate. The tournament was far from over, but Kale had already made an impression that would not be forgotten. He was no longer just a competitor. He was a symbol of what humans could achieve, a reminder that ordinary beings, through courage, intelligence, and perseverance, could accomplish the extraordinary. The arena was quiet now, the echoes of the day's battles fading into the night. Yet for Kale, the journey was just beginning. Each challenge, each opponent, each obstacle was a step toward something greater, and as he gazed at the stars beginning to twinkle above, he knew that no matter how difficult the trials became, no matter how powerful the enemies he faced, he would continue to fight, to adapt, and to prove that humanity, even in its simplest form, could triumph against the universe's greatest challenges. The day of the final tournament arrived with an intensity that electrified the entire kingdom of Valyria. The arena had been transformed into a colossal structure floating above the planet's surface, its platforms shifting in a dizzying pattern, energy barriers pulsing in unpredictable rhythms, and holographic traps flickering in the air. Every being in the galaxy seemed to have gathered to witness the final round, to see who would claim the ultimate prize, the hand of Princess Leora. Among the remaining competitors, Kale stood quietly, his gaze steady, his mind focused. The journey had been long, the trials difficult, but he had survived against all odds. His final opponent was revealed, a massive, genetically enhanced warrior named Thalor, renowned for his undefeated streak across multiple tournaments in different systems. Thalor's eyes glowed with an eerie intensity, and his muscles were enhanced to near superhuman strength. Many believed he was unbeatable. The audience held its collective breath as the two warriors faced each other, a contrast of ordinary human against a being built for perfection. Kale, however, felt no fear. He knew his strengths were not in raw power, but in intelligence, agility, and unyielding determination. The duel began with a thunderous clash. Thalor lunged forward, his fists striking with incredible force, each blow capable of crushing bones or destroying machinery. Kale dodged, rolling across the shifting platforms, his movements quick and precise. He watched carefully, analyzing Thalor's patterns, the rhythm of his attacks, and the subtle gaps in his defenses. Each strike Kale avoided was a lesson. Each move he made brought him closer to understanding his opponent. The arena was filled with hazards, energy fields that could immobilize, laser grids that could slice through armor, and floating platforms that shifted without warning. Many competitors would have panicked, but Kyle stayed calm. He used the environment to his advantage, leading Thalor into narrow spaces where his massive size became a liability, and redirecting attacks toward energy fields that slowed the alien down. Kale's agility allowed him to strike and retreat, testing Thalor's defenses without committing to a direct confrontation too early. Minutes passed like hours. Thalor's strength was overwhelming, and the crowd watched in awe at the skill and endurance of the human who refused to yield. Kale's small, ordinary body moved with purpose, avoiding attacks, finding openings, and exploiting any advantage offered by the arena. He noticed that Thalor, despite his strength, reacted predictably to feints. A clever move here, a subtle trick there, and the human began turning the tide of the battle. At one point, Thalor unleashed a powerful strike meant to end the duel instantly. Kale barely avoided it, rolling under the massive fist and using the momentum to spring onto a higher platform. From this vantage point, he could see patterns in the energy barriers that no one else had noticed. With a quick, precise strike of his staff, he triggered a mechanism in the arena, activating a trap that briefly immobilized Thalor. The audience erupted in cheers and disbelief. A human had done what many thought impossible. He had turned the environment to his favor against the strongest warrior in the galaxy. But Kale did not linger. Thalor recovered quickly, shaking off the immobilization with an angry roar. The final phase of the battle approached. A series of rapid, consecutive challenges designed to test every skill the competitors had developed. Combat, strategy, agility, and endurance would all be required, and Kale had to rely on everything he had learned since arriving on Valyria. He moved through the final series with focus and determination. He dodged energy blasts, navigated shifting platforms, solved puzzle locks under pressure, and avoided traps that would have ended the match for less careful beings. Each obstacle was a test, but Kale had trained his mind and body for these moments. His movements were precise, his decisions quick and calculated, and his courage unwavering. The crowd watched in astonishment. Aliens who had once dismissed humans as weak now studied Kale with admiration. Robots calculated probabilities of victory that seemed impossible. Telepathic beings felt the determination radiating from him, a force they could not manipulate or predict. Kale's victories were not only personal triumphs, they were proof that human ingenuity, endurance, and courage could rival the greatest powers in the galaxy. Finally, Kale and Thalor faced each other for the last time in the arena's center. The energy barriers pulsed dangerously. The platforms shifted unpredictably, and the holographic illusions of predators lurked around them. Thalor roared, charging with all his might, intending to end the duel with one final strike. Kale, with patience and intelligence, waited. He observed the patterns, predicted the timing, and moved with precision. At the perfect moment, he dodged the massive fist and used a combination of agility and clever tactics to redirect Thalor into a trap that locked him in place temporarily. Kale seized the opportunity. He struck with measured force, enough to score the final point but without unnecessary harm. The arena fell silent for a heartbeat and then erupted into deafening cheers. The human had done it. Against all odds, against the strongest, most enhanced warrior in the galaxy, Kale had won. He stood panting, exhausted but triumphant, while Thalor looked on, defeated yet alive, forced to acknowledge the brilliance of his opponent. Princess Leora descended gracefully to the arena floor, her silver robes catching the light of the twin suns. She looked at Kale with admiration and respect, recognizing in him qualities that went beyond strength: courage, intelligence, determination, and heart. "You have done what no one else could," she said softly, her voice carrying across the cheering crowd. "You have proven that strength is not only about power or enhancement. It is about courage, perseverance, and the spirit to never give up." Kyle bowed respectfully. "Thank you, Your Highness. I only hope to show that humans can face challenges and endure. I did not fight to impress, only to prove that determination and courage can make a difference." The princess smiled, placing a hand on Kale's shoulder. "You have done more than prove yourself. You have changed the way everyone sees humanity. You're a reminder that ordinary beings, through effort and ingenuity, can achieve extraordinary things." The crowd continued to cheer, and competitors who had once doubted Kale now approached with respect. Some extended hands in acknowledgement, others nodded quietly, and even the defeated Thaler gave a solemn bow, recognizing the human's brilliance. Kale's victory had not only earned him the tournament's prize but had also reshaped perceptions across the galaxy. Humans were no longer seen as weak or ordinary. They were unpredictable, resourceful, and capable of greatness. As the ceremony continued, Kale felt a quiet satisfaction. His journey had begun with a small step, arriving on Valyria with nothing but courage, training, and determination. Each trial had tested him in ways he could not have imagined. He had faced beings stronger, faster, and more enhanced than himself, yet he had triumphed through intelligence, adaptability, and unyielding spirit. He had shown that the human heart and mind could overcome even the greatest challenges. That evening, as the twin suns set behind the floating cities of Valyria, Kale walked alongside Princess Leora through the gardens. The gentle hum of the wind machines and the soft glow of bioluminescent plants created a peaceful contrast to the chaos of the tournament. "You have earned more than a title," the princess said quietly. "You have earned respect not just for yourself but for all your people. You have reminded the galaxy of what humans can accomplish." Kale smiled, humbled by her words. "I did not know if I could succeed when I arrived," he admitted. "But I believed in what humans can do when we refuse to give up. Every challenge taught me something, and every mistake made me stronger. I only hope I have inspired others to see that effort, courage, and creativity are as powerful as any enhancement or weapon." Princess Leora nodded. "You have done more than that. You have shown that spirit, determination, and ingenuity are forces no one can underestimate. Your victories will be remembered not just on Valyria, but across the stars." Kale looked up at the sky where countless stars twinkled, each one a reminder of the vastness of the universe and the endless possibilities it held. He thought of Earth, of the planet that had shaped him into the human he was. He thought of the challenges he had faced, the beings he had fought, and the lessons he had learned. And he knew that this victory was only the beginning. In the days that followed, Kale's story spread across the galaxy. Humans who had once been dismissed as ordinary now found hope and inspiration in his achievements. Aliens who had doubted humanity began to see them as capable, clever, and resilient. And Kale, the ordinary human who had triumphed through courage, intelligence, and heart, became a legend. The tournament for the princess's hand had ended, and Kyle had emerged victorious. But the true triumph was more than a prize or a title. It was a demonstration of the strength of the human spirit. In a galaxy filled with beings of unimaginable power, enhancements, and abilities, one human had proven that determination, ingenuity, and perseverance could overcome all odds. As Kale stood in the royal gardens, watching the stars reflect in the shimmering rivers below, he understood that he had done something extraordinary, not because he was the strongest, fastest, or most enhanced, but because he was human.